just before we get the clutch off. Let's have a quick look at it. Now, this isn't your typical motorcycle style clutch. It's more like a car style clutch, where it's dry, single plate. Most motorcycle clutches are multi-plate, generally wet as well, which means they're running oil. This is very similar to the old school late 80s, early 90s VW Golf style clutch system. Just have a close look. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. We can see marking and slight damage on the springs here and here. Some more here. We need to get to these bolts here. There's 6 of them all round, but to gain access to those we need to go through here. So we need to take this plate off and then gain access to the back bolts. So I want it to come off even, because we're only changing the pressure plates. We'll inspect the flywheel and the pressure plates. If they're okay, the customer just wants the drive plate done. It's actually not too bad. Still good condition, but the customer wants it done. This is exactly like a Golf system. Whilst we're here, we're going to remove the pressure plate. Because I want to have a look at the seal at the back, because I think it's leaking because we have oil residue behind this. Doesn't look too bad, but the customer's requested for it to be replaced because we've come this far. So we're going to replace this seal. Right, I've got the engine on its side. I'll put some long bolts in there to make a makeshift stand. I need to get the sump off to repair this plug. I can't repair it on the motorcycle because if I tap into it I'm going to end up with swarf inside the engine, which is not ideal. So we've got this repair to do. This is a bolt that broke. We're going to have to heat up and get out. These exhaust manifold studs are in real poor condition. You can just see those. That one there, and one on the other side. This is the other gear that we have to replace. This is the one we were waiting for that took an extra couple of weeks to get. You can see all the teeth have broken off it. So let's get the sump off and see if we can repair it. The sump is off. We can have a quick investigation of what's in here. Look at the debris in the strainer there. These are the bolts that broke. You can see the corrosion on those. There's another one there. This shouldn't be too bad to get to. The thing with this inductor that we use is it's not great for aluminium, and everything's aluminium on here. Although the steel warms up, the aluminium takes the heat away very quickly, so we can't penetrate all the way to the end. But now that this is off, we should be able to get some heat on there. Actually, we'll do a quick demo. See how warm that gets very quickly. This is our replacement sump gasket. You can just make it out through the bag. So we've got these extra tabs here which go behind the oil pump, which is here, which is driven by this gear. Oil filter housing's off. Just have a quick look inside the engine. See if you can see in there. To the big ends. I'm going to try and get these studs out now. I'm going to heat those up. This special tool helps get broken studs out. So I've got the engine on the engine stand, make life a bit easier. Got the 4 studs to get out. One's broken flush now, so I have no choice but to drill that one. The other 3, they're going to need to be heated further. The inductor unfortunately didn't do the job properly, because inductor's great on steel but it doesn't work very well around aluminium. So once you heat the steel up, the aluminium draws the heat away, it doesn't work effectively. So we're going to have to get the big guns out. So we're going to have to get the blowtorch on there, get some gas on there, try and heat these up. So I'm going to try and weld a nut on top of this, so I've got something to grip to. I can do that on this one, this one and this one, and hopefully the heat transfer from the weld will draw its way into the aluminium, and I'll heat it with the blowtorch. Hopefully we'll be able to get those out. We've also got another stud broken on the side here. This holds the oil cooler. This is quite substantial, so I should be able to get, again, heat on that, and obviously something quite big to grip to, so the chances of that breaking further down is going to be slim. But now that I've said that, you know what's going to happen. It's going to break flush and I'll have to drill it. Also, whilst it's on here, we'll change the gear and the 2 corroded studs for the exhaust. The downside with drilling now is we're going to get a lot of debris inside the engine, which is not ideal. So we're going to have to mask all this up when we start drilling and try and prevent any debris getting in there and causing damage. Once that's done, I can repair the sump, get the sump back on, get the clutch on, hopefully get it back in the engine. Well, get it back in the bike. This is the engine. So all the broken bolts are out now. I had to helicoil this one. I wasn't very happy with this retap, and I also helicoiled this one as the hole got quite big as I was drilling it out. I've also stuck a helicoil in for the sump plug. I did this off camera. See the helicoil in there, so this fits in properly now. See how dirty it is in there. I've also got this stud to get out, also these exhaust ones to remove still, but my main concern is closing this up, so try and stop any dirt getting in there. So I'm going to head over to the paraffin bath, clean this up. We'll get a fresh gasket on that to get the sump back on. So I've got the sump all clean now, the strainer's all cleaned out. I've also got the oil filter, the housing the oil filter bolts to. The strainer's fully clean now. I run some air through that to blew the rest of the rubbish out. Got the gaskets ready for it. It's going to go onto the bottom of the engine now, and then we can start worrying about putting the gears back on and getting rid of these other bits. So these are the new gaskets. Going to replace the oil seal in here, and the gasket goes on the bottom. Use the paper so you could see it, because you couldn't see it on the background. So let's get this oil seal out. pretty cruddy behind there. So we'll clean that up and then put the new seal on. So we've got this all clean now. This gasket only goes on one way. If you have a look, the bolts are oddly spaced. Try and put it on, see, doesn't quite line up. Once the sump goes on, we'll press down against it. But the sump's going back together. These are the bolts we removed, not these ones. These are some of the sump ones. You can see how corroded they are. Some of them are okay, some of them not so much. And plus we're 4 short because we had to draw those out. So I'm going to get rid of these and I'm going to replace them with these lovely stainless steel ones, so we don't have the Caesar problem anymore. These are the ones that hold this in place onto here, and these were Loctited before, so we're going to re-Loctite these. Off camera I ended up removing the side stud and the exhaust studs. I tried heat, tried welding a nut on it, went through all the same rigmarole as before, but no joy. Ended up having to drill it out. I had to helicoil this one and also this stud. This one I managed to drill out and re-tap. So it's time to get the clutch on now and hopefully get it back in the bike today. We're ready to fit the clutch now. I've replaced the rear main oil seal, I've cleaned the bell housing. This is the flywheel. There are a few burn marks on there, but that's not going to affect usability. Again with this is a new drive plate. So the bolts, these are the old bolts. I'm going to use new stainless steel bolts. These are the old flywheel bolts, new flywheel bolts, and I'm going to reuse these bolts. Some of the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I forgot to put this plate in at the back, right in the hole. Anyway, it's back in now, so this is ready to go back into the bike. But I just got to do a couple of more seals on the gearbox, and then we can make this back to the gearbox. I've got the engine in, this new pulley's been replaced, the gasket's on, got the alternator off the front cover now, new crankshaft front oil seal, and we'll get the cover back on, and then we can bolt the engine back into the front cover. There you go. Right, the intakes are on now, fuel injector's in, got to fit the alternator and do some of the wiring. So everything's back together. We need to get this clutch release bearing into the back of the transmission. It's buried in there. It was an absolute battle trying to get it out because the suspension's in the way. But now that we've got the engine on the jack, I'm going to try and hold the entire bike up, take this rear shock out, drop the suspension, and that'll give us some access from the back to try and get this back in.